Three, two, and one. Well, Mayor Mike, welcome back. Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. First off, congratulations. We've made it to winter. We have
Bite your tongue. We're not there yet.
We have almost made it through the end of the budgets. And as we are recording this, there is no snow on the ground, and that is a good thing, right?
That is a good thing, right? We're saving money every day now.
Yes, exactly. And
no plowing and salt.
Yes, and it's only the 1st of November. So hey, maybe things are going to take a turn for the better here for us, and we're going to end the year on a high note, right?
Yes, that's what we're shooting for, because boy, we need a high note.
Yes, indeed.
After the last 2 years of this stuff, we definitely need something to hang on to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you've had a lot of progress. Last time we had talked in this format, you said you had projects going on in nearly every corner of the city. There was one that you couldn't tell me about, no matter how I twisted your arm and tried to bribe you and things like that, which of course does not happen for those that don't get the tongue-in-cheek nature of the joke.
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen because I could really use the money.
We do know now what one of those projects is at the Bilke lumber site. I asked you about something like a Chick-fil-A, things like that. You said no. It turns out it's I would say something even better, because first off, it's local, and second off, it's going to be a beautiful facility when it's done. Tell us about it.
It is. So we can let the cat out of the bag now. If you keep your cats in bags, I don't know if you do, but we have successfully negotiated a developers agreement with Great Northern Distilling. Great Northern Distilling needed to, they couldn't reach terms with their current location, but more importantly, they need to expand. They're doing well. So we have, we've worked out a deal for them to go on the former Bilke lumber site, where they're going to have their distillery and their tasting room and some event space. And we've got another project that we're kind of working on to hopefully complement that. But yeah, we expect to start breaking ground very soon. And they're looking at occupancy in spring. So this is going to be a very accelerated construction schedule. And we're excited to have Great Northern come to the city of Stevens Point. You're going to see, distilled in Stevens Point, Wisconsin on every bottle. They put out some great products, and having them near our downtown location provides yet another reason to come to downtown Stevens Point.
Yeah, and you can kind of see why I started out by saying the weather is nice these days, because that's just it. The terms of the agreement say they need to have ground broken by March 1st, and they're saying no. How about maybe November 15th? And they're saying we're going to be open in 2022. Even if you go on their website, it says relocating in 2022. So they are being very ambitious with this.
Well, what happens is, I think their lease expires at the end of the year in their current location. So they'll be down. And downtime in any business is bad. So the quicker they can get the new facility up and running, the better off they're going to be, and the better off we're going to be too.
Yeah, indeed. And you mentioned, seeing it distilled in Stevens Point on the bottle. There is, a phenomenon now among tourists, especially people like me, younger couples, which of course I don't fall into, but people like me that say, hey, something cool like that is there in Stevens Point. Let's go check it out. It's called Brucation, actually. Okay. So you go around to different craft breweries or different craft spirits locations and things like that. And there's real money that is spent at those locations that then goes into your local economy. And that's, so you can say it tongue in cheek, but it's real.
It is. And, the Convention and Visitors Bureau had this program for a while. They still have it available. It's called the Craft Collective, where they do just that. They take you get a tour of not only Great Northern, but Central Waters and Oso, Cozy Yak, and there's another winery out in Rochelle, the Sunset Point Winery here in Stevens Point. We have a pretty good market for those types of people who are foodies and or drinkies. I don't know if that's a way to
I think beverages is what they're going.
Beverages.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, our city attorney's name is Beveragey. No. Logan Beverage, but yeah.
Yes.
no, it's a great opportunity. I'm sure it's going to be a huge success. Can't wait to have them here, and we'll invite you down, and maybe we'll do a Mayor's Monday at the distillery once they open next spring.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Let's make it happen.
So you were talking about the bribes earlier, and I said I need the money. Well, of course, we're joking, but if I had enough money, I would retire tomorrow, which is almost what our fire chief is doing. Chief Bob Finn has been with the city
Yep.
for a very long time. As a matter of fact, just last week, he received Emergency Responder of the Year. He was down in Madison and accepted that award with Katrina Shanklin as the Emergency Responder of the Year for his years of dedicated service. Well, he's earned retirement. As the beginning of the year rolls around, and most of the rest of us are celebrating Elvis's birthday, Chief Finn is going to be retired. So the city of Stevens Point right now is currently taking applications to fill that position. So if you know somebody who's got some experience and would want to come to Stevens Point and potentially be our new fire chief, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, and in a situation like this, obviously it's the police and fire commission that's going to have the say over who ends up getting hired. And you're doing a national search for this, but of course you're also at the same time taking a look inside and encouraging those internal to maybe step up and take their old boss's job as well. It's all part of having just kind of a good, well thought out search process.
It is. And we have succession planning that we all do. I'm sure other communities do exactly the same thing because you want to tap the experience that you have. However, when a position of this nature comes up, you want to make sure you throw a very wide net and not limit yourself to just those people in central Wisconsin, but maybe there's an exciting candidate in the, southern, western part of the country, you pick it, who wants to get back to Stevens Point, or maybe wants to slow down a little bit, get to a smaller town, or maybe who has just heard about our top-notch two-paramedic service and the fact that we have an ISO 2, soon to be ISO 1 rating, which is like top of the line. And our response times are well above the industry average nationwide, and they just want to work for a department that excels in all of those locations. So we want to make sure we throw that net wide. And the Police and Fire Commission do have autonomy when it comes to selecting the new fire chief. However, in the past, we've always reached out to community leaders, whether the chancellor or the dean over at Midstate, president over at Midstate, the school superintendent. We want to make sure that community leaders have a chance to weigh in their thoughts because obviously fire chief is going to serve the entire community, and we want to make sure that that we get everybody's input.
Yeah, and we actually just talked about this last week with your good buddy Brent Jacobson in Mosadine, because they recently hired a new police chief, and they did go outside. But once that person got hired in Mosadine, they've made themselves very visible in the community, and you want something like that because if you don't have a safe community, really, what do you have?
Right. Well, and arguably emergency services are one of those things where you don't think about it until you need it. But when you need it, you want the absolute best. And unfortunately, we have a need in the community. We just had a tragic, well, it wasn't tragic. There was no loss of life, but it was still a tragic financial loss with a structure fire. And that was just last week. And we, you want the best of the best when you need to call emergency services. So, we're going to do a search and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, and if I remember right, applications for that are actually going to be coming due here in just a couple of weeks here by the middle of the month or so. Do you have any other idea on how the timeline is going to move from there?
Well, we really don't, because you have to figure out, you don't know what kind of candidate pool you're going to have. You may have a dozen great people, and you do second and third interviews in some cases. You may have a pool of candidates where there really isn't a great fit, and you might have to relist it. So until we know what sort of pool we have to choose from, and the PFC has the chance to review those applications and conduct some interviews initially, we won't know. But ideally, we have a well-qualified candidate who accepts the job, And we could have them on board, as probably as early as, mid-January.
But we'll look forward to seeing where that goes. And I think more importantly, at least as far as on my end, we're going to look forward to the welcoming reception, which I expect to have a very good cake at it. You make that happen. Is that
We
in the
love cake.
2022
We love
budget?
all sorts of food here. I got to tell you, because we talked about retirements, we have a few other ones that are coming up in the end of the year. That seems to be the time when everybody, you get your new accrual of vacation and they choose to retire at the beginning of the year. We've got a few of those, but Todd Kukan, who's our Portage County Business Council Executive Director, is officially, I think tomorrow or Wednesday is his official retirement date. We have a new executive director of the Business Council, and he has been making himself very visible the last couple of weeks. His name is Mike Whitty. And Mike is going to be the new executive director of the Business Council. So if you are a member or even a business owner who's not a member, if he hasn't reached out to you yet, I would strongly recommend that you get in contact with him. Let him get the lay of the land. He lived in Point for a while, did a fair amount of time in the Fox Valley region. And now it's sort of almost like a homecoming for him. So we're excited to have him on board. I hope he can keep up, because Todd and I used to do some crazy antics when we'd go out to ribbon cuttings and things like that. So I hope Mike's got a good sense of humor, because without that, he's going to be a little lost.
Absolutely. Yes, that is a must, especially sometimes in this business. One more thing before we let you go. I know you've got a packed schedule today, but you mentioned Elvis earlier, celebrating Elvis's birthday at the start of the year. There's another little nugget that you kind of threw in there for as far as segues go, because the River City's Mayor's Art Auction is now live. You have the website where you can bid on the various pieces. Give us your pitch. Why should people be bidding for your paint by numbers Elvis painting? That is,
Elvis's birthday is coming up January the 8th, born in 1935. And I'm a big Elvis fan. As a matter of fact, it's a little known fact about me. This is probably an exclusive for you, Michael. I at one time won an Elvis impersonator contest. I was much younger and thinner, but yeah, the jumpsuit doesn't fit anymore. So Chris Redrickson, who's the mayor of Rhinelander, Katie Rosenberg, of course, up in Wausau, they both have some talent and they paint as a hobby. And we were at a meeting of the minds, if you will, to talk about some other work-related items. And somehow in conversation, it came up that, these guys paint. And they said, well, maybe we should do a piece of art and we could auction it off for charity or something like that. And I said, whoa, guys, I don't have any talent. I can't paint. I can't draw. The paint with water books that they give little kids and the colors automatically appear. I could do that. I said, but if you let me do a paint by number, I can follow numbers. So I did. And we all created an original piece. It's still original, even though it's a paint by number. And I chose Elvis Presley. Katie has the lotus flower, and Chris does a scene by the river or by a pond. It's his is titled "Come Sit with Me." But I have it here because I figured you might want to see it. For those of you listening to the radio in color, it's gorgeous. But this is my paint by number. And what we did is each of us are creating a piece, and we're auctioning it off in partnership with PBS Wisconsin. So the site is auction.pbswisconsin.org. That's auction.pbswisconsin.org. And you can bid on any of those pieces. So what we did is we each chose a charity, creative charity in our city. And whoever gets the most money for their painting gets all of the money for their charity. So it's a friendly competition, but in the end, it's going to benefit all of the communities through exposure and bringing more attention to the arts in our individual communities. Then, of course, there's bragging rights for all of that as well. The auction is going to end on Small Business Saturday, and we thought that very appropriate because your local artisans are the ones that are really most important. They're the ones that are creating pieces in your communities, and shop local Saturday. is kind of the culmination or apex of the holiday shopping season. So we want to encourage everybody, if you don't buy one of our pieces of art, buy something from a local person, a local crafts person, if you will, or a local business, and support those local businesses in your community, because they're the ones that were hardest hit during COVID, and they are the ones that are sponsoring your kids' baseball teams and giving you prizes when there's a charitable fundraiser to happen. So we need to give back to them.
Absolutely. And make sure that, again, you go online, check out all those pieces. They are great. As I gave you grief because you did a paint by numbers. You said, yeah, I don't have any talent. I will give you credit though for diving into something like this and going in full head of steam. And hey, you created something that I would not be against hanging on my wall. In fact, I think I'm going to go make a $19.95 bid on your piece right now.
Perfect. I was going to try and do it on velvet, but they don't make paint by numbers on velvet.
Yeah,
you need a velvet Elvis.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. One more then before we let you go. I know you take a lot of great pride in your downtown skating rink, and again, now that it's getting colder, any idea when that's going to open?
Well, if I knew that, I would be working for Channel 7 or Channel 9 in the weather department, because you have to be a good predictor. Now, if you believe the Farmer's Almanac, the Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be colder and longer than average winter. There's models that show just about everything, but here's what it is. We need sustainable below freezing temperatures.
Okay.
I don't want that. I'm in no rush to get there. Just so you know, Michael.
Okay.
I would be okay if we didn't have a skating rink this year and it was just warm through March.
The other things that
snow during Christmas and then it's gone. But that's really what we need. We need sustainable cold weather, because it doesn't make sense if we have a small cold streak, let's say in early November. It doesn't make sense to build it, because if it warms up around Thanksgiving, it melts. We just wasted all that time. So our holiday parade downtown is November 17th. I can guarantee you pretty much we're not going to have it up by then, but it should be up by Christmas.
All right. We're going to hold you to that. And then if there is no skating rink this year, we know where the complaints go.
Rollerblades. Just buy a set of rollerblades. You can skate in a circle around the square all you want. If you want, I'll throw ice cubes at you just to make it feel like winter for you.
I always appreciate the time, Mayor Mike, and always appreciate the creativity as well.
Great. Have a good one, Michael.
You too.